Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
How's Jake Dolegala looked? He's your number 2, right, coming out of camp?
Yeah. You know what? I always, the thing about quarterbacks, Roddy, is that, a lot of times I don't think people realize how difficult it is for some of these guys to come from the American game and playing, American rules their entire life and come up here and be expected to kind of, light it up. Now, some do. But others, it takes a little while to kind of get used to the game and the game slows down a little bit for you. I think Jake, had a very good training camp. I know he let a couple of balls get away from him in the last preseason game that were intercepted. But what I look at too is not only about, I look at the decision making, right? Like, where he was going with the football was where he should have been going, as opposed to trying to force a ball into where it shouldn't be going. And he overthrew a couple of balls and they ended up getting picked off. But overall, I think he feels more and more comfortable with this offense. It's a little bit different than what he's used to. And he's, he seems to be, progressing nicely. And we'll see how that evolves during the season as far as, when they use him or if they're going to have to use him.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
I had a lady write me on social media, longtime friend of mine, used to work with her, and she's like, yeah, my son has always wanted to go. And I'm like, oh my God, that would be the day that my parents would take me to the Stanley Cup Final and spend thousands. What? And she was like, maybe I'll go to Florida because it's the same price, and it's way nicer there than Edmonton. And I'm like, well, that's what I think. But I mean, this is out of control.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hi, everybody. I hope you're not out of control. Welcome to the RP Show on a Thursday, June the 6th in the year of our Lord 2024. It's episode number 1260 of your favorite daytime sports talk show. We're coming to you live on Game Plus TV in Canada. And in 31 U.S. states, we got somebody who just found us in New York. Moose, let's bring in the Moose. And we're on the radio in Atlanta. We're Atlanta's NHL show. I am at the Golden Ticket Sports Center in Moose Jaw. Moose is in Toronto, and we got some very exciting news we're going to get to here right away. It's a big news day. Moose, are you excited for sports today? And if so, what has you excited about sports?
Yeah, all the things you're going to talk about today. It's a great day. I mean, CFL's back today, a couple of days away from the Stanley Cup Final. For me, French Open's getting down to the nitty-gritty. It's a great time in sports.
Oh, I got a basketball hoop over my shoulder here. The NBA Finals begin tonight. We got a lot going on. So the guests are the sports doctor in Winnipeg will be with us in hour 1 and in hour 2. Jason Gregor from Sports 1440 Edmonton. Director Jordan, can you hit the quick 6 show horn, please? And we'll go from there.
Hot damn.
Hey, yo, we always open with the big story, and normally it's what I would hear over here on Coffee Row, but I went to the drive-thru today, Moose, as you know, so I don't know what they were talking about inside at Tim Hortons. What I'm talking about, the big story for me, not only is the CFL kickoff, and I actually have 2 of our quick 6 points are the CFL. We're going to come back later on and get to the picks, so you get ready. But we've got really big news that people need to understand, and I maybe you kind of got to be a Canadian Football League diehard to understand the significance of this announcement this morning. But the CFL comes to CTV this fall with exclusive 3 p.m. Eastern Saturday games beginning September 7th. TSN and CTV combined to deliver afternoon playoff games and the 111th Grey Cup. So to our U.S. viewers, and by the way, here's an example. Brandon writes in from Manhattan. Just discovered your show. Can you shout me out? Brandon B. in New York. There you go, Brandon B. There you go. So here, to Brandon B. and all the others in America, you have ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. Canada, CTV is one of those. And they haven't aired the Grey Cup, Darren, in literally decades, as long as I can remember. Well, CBC did up until 2007, but it's what we call in this business over-the-air networks. Forever, we couldn't figure out why CTV is showing NFL games, but not the CFL. Well, as of today, that stops. The CFL will be on CTV beginning September 7th nationally. This is a watershed day, and I don't feel like you got to be a diehard football fan to understand how big a deal that is.
It's a huge deal. It's eyeballs. CTV, CBC's in that conversation. They are among the most penetrated channels in the country, meaning available to the most people in the most households. TSN isn't, I don't believe. It's up there because it's in a lot of basic cable packages, but it's not in every basic cable package. A lot of times you have to have a sports package to get TSN too. It's not with CTV, not with CBC and those over-the-air networks. CTV adds potentially millions of eyeballs, and this is going to be a big moment for the league.
9 million watched it on TSN as it was last year. It's probably going to be at least double that on CTV from Vancouver this year. So that's the big story. We'll get into that more. We got a lot to get to here. By the way, we're broadcasting live from the Golden Ticket Sports Center in Moose Jaw. Elevate your game at Golden Ticket Sports Center, where passion meets performance. Check us out at GoldenTicketSportsCenter.com. Moving on to point 2 of the Quick Six show topics. The Edmonton Oilers know what to expect from the Florida Panthers. Lots of hits, scrums after the whistle, a mix of skill and willpower. But the Oilers say they're not intimidated by the physical challenges posed by the Panthers. They'll be ready to answer the bell when the Stanley Cup begins Saturday night, Game 1 in Sunrise. Said Oilers forward Leon Draisaitl at practice yesterday, "We can be a physical team too. Obviously, we like to play with the puck, but we're certainly not intimidated by physicality." This morning, I spent 20 minutes on Fan 960 Calgary talking about the Stanley Cup Final and a Florida perspective, and then 5 minutes on the CFL. Shout out George Russick and the crew, Matty Rose at Fan 960 Calgary. They got the biggest ratings in the spring book since 2015, I think they said. They're doing great things in Calgary on Fan 960, and it was my pleasure to be on there in prime time today for 20-plus minutes. How do you feel about that the Oilers are going to stand up to the Panthers? It's just one of many storylines of the series.
Yeah, you feel good about it if you're the Oilers, hearing the team say that. But it's one thing to say it; it's another thing to do it on the ice. So we'll see what happens. If I'm an Oiler fan, I don't want the Oilers to get away from what's gotten them here, which is they like to play with the puck, they like to control possession, all those things. Yeah, if you can play physical and gritty and get to the net and do those things, you should do those things also. But play your game. Do what's going to get you here, and do your best not to let the Panthers throw you off that game. That's what I would hope that they do.
We're going to spend a lot of time talking about that, but it is CFL kickoff day today. Big news there. Blue Jays won yesterday. They're playing a matinee to wrap up the Baltimore series today. Hey, our viewers are the best, right? You know that, the Rod squad. And they're cheeky, too. Randy from Winnipeg writes it. He says, nobody watches the CBC anymore. It makes me laugh because we had just an iconic news anchor on CBC, Saskatchewan. His name was Costa Marigas. You know him well. And I remember writing on rodpedersen.com back in the day when the Stanley Cup Final was only on CBC, the end of the hockey season. I wrote on my blog, bye-bye CBC, see you in the fall, maybe. Then I run into Costa at Starbucks. He's like, oh, thanks, Rod. Oh, and by the way, I only listen to you for Rider games, so I guess it's the same. But who really watches the CBC? Let's get real about it. Yeah, well, hey, we're getting close, dude. We're getting close to Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final Saturday night in Sunrise. I was talking to, before we move on to other topics, I was talking to Serena yesterday. She hosted the Cats and Bolts podcast without me yesterday. And the fill-in guy was some chump named Bill Lindsay, only the face of the Florida Panthers in South Florida and the radio broadcaster. She brought up Greg Cote of the Miami Herald calling Connor McDavid overrated. And Bill was just like, he goes, I don't want that to be a reflection of how the Florida Panthers speak because Greg Cote doesn't speak for us. And I thought, Serena was telling me this later, he actually said a few more colorful things that he's asked to be removed from the podcast before it gets posted this afternoon. But isn't that something? How people think the media, the fans think the media speaks for the teams? Because they don't, unless you're the voice of the team. And even then, you don't really. Oh, it's such a tough juxtaposition, right? But he's like, we don't need to be giving them any bulletin board material. I could see how that would be construed as bulletin board material, that Connor McDavid's overrated. Because if I was in that shoes, I would be going, oh, yeah? I'm going to come out and torch you for 5 points in game one. So, hey, the fun stuff, Darren, where the media doesn't speak for the teams.
No, they don't. But the media's job is to provide opinion and to, entertain and to do all these things that get you ready for the game, which, does support what the teams do, no doubt. But you're right, they don't. And so oftentimes it can be free bulletin board material. Do you see what they're saying in Edmonton about us now? What Edmonton is saying about our team, or what Florida is saying about us? Yes, not the Panthers directly, but that doesn't matter to Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. It's a narrative against them, and they're going to use that as fuel.
Well, you got a kick out of this story that I told you this morning on the phone for like the 7th time, but I'm going to tell our viewers here now. It just reminds me of when I was voice of the Rough Riders for 20 seasons, and I'd go on all these stations across the country when we were going into their park and be talking like a WWE heel, right? We're going to come in there and kick your ass and burn your stadium down. And, blah, blah, blah. And the one time, listen, folks, I would do that. Darren knows. Craig Dickinson called me one time, our coach. He goes, hey, would you mind not going on these stations and firing up the other team every week? And I said, listen, you do you, bro. I'm busy selling out the stadium over there. I wouldn't be saying it if I didn't think you could do it. Just go out there and you do your job and I'll do mine. Okay? And then we would go there and win. It was good times. And how times change. I'm now going on these stations to talk about the Stanley Cup Final and the Florida Panthers, but not lighting any fires, like Greg Cote of the Miami Herald. Point 3, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa drove in the winning run in the bottom of the 9th inning, and the Toronto Blue Jays beat the Baltimore Orioles 3-2 on Wednesday. Justin Turner singled off Craig Kimbrell to begin the 9th. Kevin Biggio ran for Turner, advanced to second base on Kimbrell's Aaron Pickoff throw before moving to third on a fly ball and scoring on Kiner-Falefa's base hit to right field. Here in the WCBL last night, the Saskatoon Berries beat the Moose Jaw Miller Express 11-8. I called it on Home Team Live. Weyburn won in Regina 12-8. Medicine Hat over Lethbridge 6-4. Okotoks over Brooks 12-11. And Sylvan Lake beat Fort McMurray 11-4. Here's the fun thing about baseball. So much different than everything I've been used to. The names, Darren, the names are different. The left fielder for the Saskatoon Berries from Helena, Alabama. His name is McGuire Turner, and it's spelled like Mark McGuire. And the right fielder for the Saskatoon Berries, his name was Oakland Fladell. Now, he's from Dundurn. Not as exotic as Helena, Alabama, but no less important. The names in baseball are pretty cool. You can tell you come from a baseball family when you name your kid McGuire. How about Sosa? Yeah, I'm loving the baseball thing, man. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. It's a total. Here's the difference in culture, by the way. Tell me what you think about this. You got Cody Fajardo, the quarterback from Montreal, standing before the media and saying, we think we're the best team in the CFL this year. We're going to go out and prove it in Winnipeg. You got the Blue Bombers running back, Brady Oliveira, going, he's got to say that. He's the leader, but we think we're the best player. We're the best team in the CFL. That's football. Then you got hockey. Aaron Ekblad talking yesterday about Connor McDavid. He's the greatest leader in sports. When we're playing together, I've known him my whole life. We're the same age. You can't stop him. He's unbelievable. You can only hope to contain him. That's Ekblad. 180 difference. Let's be complimentary about the other team, and we're lucky to even be on the same ice surface as them. Football. We're the greatest. And then baseball, I'm still trying to figure out where they fall. They just seem to be out there having a good time. Dancing to the music in the outfield and stuff, you know?
Yeah, baseball is usually having some fun. It's a lot more, it's a lot less about each game in baseball because you play so many of them, so many damn games.
It's unreal.
So it's hard to just, football, it all goes into the game because you play just one game a week. So there's so much buildup to it. And yeah, you pump the chest. And yeah, the hockey is definitely a little different in that regards. But, the respect in hockey, that's what stands out because there seems to be that a lot. You don't see a lot of just the pregame media trash talk calling out the other teams that often in hockey.
You don't, ever. And that was a major change for me as I grew up in the game of hockey to get into football and realize, oh, no, we're not supposed to talk complimentary about the opponent? Oh, okay. So whatever, it's It's the difference. But you talk about the build-up here. I don't know why they're waiting so long to start the Stanley Cup Final, but I don't think it's a bad thing. And I'll say it again. $6.2 billion revenue this year in the NHL, highest ratings ever on cable television. We're doing just fine. We know what we're doing here. You know, the days off in between games you talked about the other day, 2 days off in between games, like it's weird, but they can't be criticized, the NHL, for any of what they're doing here. They cannot be criticized. Listen, tell me if this hype, it isn't helping sell the series. I don't see people checking out, Darren. I don't see them checking out and saying, I'm not paying attention to the Stanley Cup Final because it's taking too long. Do you?
No, I don't. You might lose some of the casual fans who don't have a rooting interest and don't really care, but I don't think so. Especially, you know, if you're a fan and you're a fan of one of those two teams, you're absolutely not checking out.
Hey, Greg from Calgary writes in from the 403. 902-518-3033 is the Sober Carpenter text line. He says, great to hear you today on Calgary Radio. Listen, I was very happy to be on Calgary Radio today talking about the Stanley Cup and some on the CFL, which we'll be getting into more on the break. But I appreciate the crew, the morning show there at Fan 960 for having me on. Buffalo Bill writes in from North Dakota. He writes in and says, greetings and hallucinations from breezy Crosby, North Dakota. Are the gambling suspensions of pros because the leagues don't want competition? The Bettman curse? I don't know. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, reward your love of movies by signing up for the Landmark Extras for free, like Darren and I have. You can go to landmarkcinemas.com for all the details. Choose your program. It's a rewards program. The more movies you go to, the more free movies you get. And concession items, exclusive screening invites, all the rest. Go check it out. Thank us later. How about this? NBA, Celtics 7-footer Kristaps Porzingis said he'll be ready to go out there and hoop for Game 1 of the NBA Finals tonight. After missing Boston's last 10 games with a strained left calf, Porzingis said he couldn't predict how it will be once he gets into a game for the first time since April 29th. An offseason acquisition that helps solidify the Celtics front court. Porzingis averaged 20 points, 7.2 rebounds, and almost 2 blocks per game. Game 1, NBA Finals tonight, Dallas-Boston. And when I hear the name, Kristaps Porzingis, I hear Mike Bream, the voice of the NBA, on what channel is it? ABC, ESPN, saying, Kristaps Porzingis. It's what the broadcasters do for you, you know? It's all part of the brand.
Big time. Absolutely it is.
Okay, that's it. We're out of here. We're going to take a break and come back with the rest of the Quick Six Show topics, more Stanley Cup playoff talk, our CFL picks for Week 1, get to the poll, which is Canada's Game of the Week, by the way. If you have not voted yet, please do so on YouTube or Twitter, and we'll be right back here on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Now the race is on and here comes pride in the backstretch.
Celebrate 40 years of Sawyer Brown.
Some girls don't like boys like me.
With Shenandoah.
You got to get me to the church on the Cumberland Road.
Plus special guest George Fox. Saturday, October 26th, Moose Jaw Event Center.
I'll take the dirt road.
Tickets are on sale now at the Moose Jaw Event Center box office or online at sasktix.ca.
6 days on the road and I'm
Sawyer Brown and Shenandoah live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Broadcasting live from the beautiful Golden Ticket Sports Center. Check us out, everybody, on Instagram, Twitter, goldenticketsports.inc. And, hey, the Saskatchewan Rattlers pro basketball team plays out of Sask Health Center, offering the best entertainment for Saskatchewan sports fans. Their season has started with leadership from their NBA experienced head coach, Larry Abney, and look to return to championship weekend this August. Get your tickets now by visiting Ticketmaster.ca or head on down to the Rattlers front office in downtown Saskatoon. They took it on the chin last night in Calgary, by the way, the Rattlers. We'll get them next time. Let's bring the Moose in with regard... That's not a road you want to go down, Darren. You and I both know that. Regarding the attitudes of athletes in certain sports, from Kubich, watching in South Florida, writes in and he says, football is more rough and primitive. Hockey is respectful. Just look at the handshakes at the end. And being Cuban, I would agree baseball is somewhere in the middle. Hashtag Go Cats. The Panthers fans have found us, Darren. They're tuning in because they're getting inundated with propaganda about the Edmonton Oilers. There's not a lot of coverage about the Florida Panthers anywhere in North America other than South Florida right now as we get ready for the Stanley Cup Final. Yeah, anything on your mind before I delve into whatever's next? Any thoughts, comments, all the rest?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. I mean, this Stanley Cup Final is interesting, especially when you talk about the coverage in Florida. You're right. It's mostly about the Oilers' perspective, you know, and how many Canadians they have on the roster. I think it was something like 16 or 18 Canadians for Edmonton. Florida's a little more diverse in that regard, which actually adds to the storyline. And I like that you got kind of more to that Canada-U.S. rivalry.
Well, and by the way, for those Cats fans that have come here for Stanley Cup Finals coverage, that's a little more Florida slanted than Edmonton. The Cats and Bolts podcast, I think, is going to drop this afternoon. But again, Serena hosted it yesterday with Bill Lindsay as her guest, and he said some things that he wants taken out. And I'm like, Billy's been so good to us. If he wants, whatever you want, we'll do. So there might be a little bit of a delay in posting it. It was nothing terrible. I'm not even going to say what it was about. But it's any edge, man. Like, listen. It's not Football Friday yet. That's tomorrow. And we're going to talk heavy football here right away. So I will just say this. We haven't got our predictions out on this series, you and me. And you're very good at the picks, and I think you're pretty non-biased. You're a Leaf fan, and your number 2 team is Vancouver. So I got to think that you have no bias towards Edmonton at all. I think the Panthers will win. I don't even think it matters how many games. But I'll say 6, because I think the history shows the average length of a playoff series is 6 games. All-time 6 games. So I'll say Panthers in 6. How about you?
I'm going to go Edmonton in 6. And that's what I was thinking before coming into this. I think Edmonton wins this in 6. I think Florida will find a way to... We're probably, to be honest, going to come out of Florida with a split, go to Edmonton, probably split those 2 games as well. But I think Edmonton in 6.
There you go, everybody. Rod says Panthers in 6. Moose says Oilers in 6. How about that? Serena not picking, although she said she'll never bet against her Edmonton Oilers. So, speaking of predictions, I guess, how about we'll get to our CFL Week 1 picks from Darren and I in a second, but we're going to do this every Wednesday, right, Joe? Canada's Game of the Week. Woohoo!
How about that?
But it's Thursday. We missed it yesterday. What is Canada's Game of the Week in the Canadian Football League? And this is interesting. We're airing on national television across Canada in 31 U.S. states, so a lot of the U.S. CFL fans are watching. And I appreciate those that have written in already. You haven't been able to get to your comments yet, like Carlos in Indianapolis. What's the Game of the Week? Tonight, Montreal at Winnipeg. Friday, Hamilton at Montreal. Bo Levi's return to McMahon. Saskatchewan at Edmonton Saturday. And then BC at Toronto Sunday. In the Brayley Bowl, we have a tie. We have a tie for the top Canada's Game of the Week, Darren. Tonight's game, Montreal at Winnipeg. Tied with Saturday, Sask at Edmonton. And then 13% of the vote saying BC at Toronto in the Brayley Bowl, and only 3% saying Hamilton at Montreal. And I don't even know what to say about that. I have done my best. I'm going to be honest. Get on a soapbox here. The last 2 summers I spent in Calgary doing my best to whip football coverage up in that town, and people just weren't having it. 3% voting for the Bo Levi return. Like that, frankly, should be the biggest story of the week. It should. Don't you think?
I understand. I would say not anymore, because the opportunity to do this, it should have been last year. You know, it feels so far removed. From, I think that's why. I think we're kind of over it now, you know, a little bit. But you're right. It should be more hyped up. I think there's only one game of the week. There's only one option for the game of the week for me. And I don't think it's close. I think it's tonight. I think it's Winnipeg and Montreal. It's a Grey Cup rematch. It's the first game of the season. We've been waiting all off season for this. All the hype should be into tonight's game. And I think the rest of the week is just a bonus. So I'm really excited for tonight's game.
Allie in Texas. She says Edmonton Oilers in 7, although I am going for Florida. She's just trying to get in good with Serena. Come on.
How about
Carlos in Indianapolis says the game of the week for Week 1 is little more than a disguised fan roll call. Everyone wants to see their teams again after this long off season. There's hope for them all with a blank record. Yeah, up until today, everybody's tied for first. But I think that's my point. Only 3% of voters voting for Hamilton at Calgary. I'm a little with Darren. They really whiffed on this, not having this game last year. But even if they did, he was hurt 3/4 of the year. He might have not even played. So, had it been on the schedules, and that's not the CFL's fault, but I don't know. The biggest news out of the CFL is this: beginning September 7th, the CFL will go to a Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern game every Saturday. That's unreal. On CTV and TSN as well will carry the playoffs, and CTV, TSN, they're partners. One's a cable network, the other's over the air. If you don't understand, you never will. But that's a really big deal. And what that shows me is how long it takes to affect change. CFL, like any pro league, is a big corporation. This kickoff tonight, Winnipeg home to Montreal is the earliest kickoff in the history of the Canadian Football League on the calendar, June 6th. They've never kicked off this early. I've been pushing for this for so long, I don't even care anymore. I haven't worked in the league in 5 years. I don't even care. Like, I literally don't care anymore. Even this CTV TSN CFL deal. Again, it's great, but we've been asking for it for years. My guess is the guy that's in charge of programming Saturday afternoons on CTV isn't a CFL fan or a sports fan. That would be my guess. He'd rather run 8 reruns of Big Bang Theory than a CFL game. But I digress. Landon writes in from the Queen City, and he says, morning from Regina. I know you aren't a betting man, but what is both of your opinions on an over-under for a Rider win total this year? If I may go one step further, so bold, this morning on Calgary Fan 960, they asked me 6.5 over-under on Stampeders wins. And I said, where's my pen? I said over. Oh, I'm like, oh, over, but not much over. But I'll say 7 wins for Sask. Like most teams, it'll have to do with the health of their quarterback. Landon asked over/under Riders win. I'll say 7 wins is my total. That's 6 last year. What's yours on that particular question
9.
right there?
Yeah, mine's 9. So I think it right around there. That would be my over/under. Would be 9, either 8.5 or 9.5. It'd be one of the two, but right around 9.
Okay, there you go. 7 for me, 9 for Moose. Over/under on Stamps wins 6.5. You taking the over or the under?
I'm gonna take the under because I picked him to finish at the bottom, but I just kind of by default. I think 6 for Calgary.
That's so good.
I think that's the number. Who's the dead man
Kick his
that
ass,
hit me with the
Seabass.
salt shaker?
Jeff,
funny.
the Stamps fan, writes in and says, not only is Calgary-Hamilton the game of the week, it's the biggest game since Gretzky returned to Northlands in 1988. This is a wonderful example, Jeff, of how you are in the red vacuum, and that's cool. That's awesome. 3% of people voting for that being the game of the week. You're in the 3%, but you're not in the 97%. So I just think it should be a far bigger deal, but as Darren said, they missed the boat, so that's cool. Hey, Nelson writes in, our VP of Sim Events, and says the line is 7.5 on the Riders. It's interesting, and I said 7. On the betting thing, I don't even know where that stands either. I know for a fact, I've told this before, but we've got a lot of new viewers that never know. When sports betting first became a thing in the 90s, I was the voice of the, and listen, I know it was legalized sports, but out of the back rooms, out of the bookies, you know, the back room, the beer parlor, as my mom would say, with a bookie there taking bets. Sports Select, to me, was the first. And I was working in the Canadian Football League. I was the voice of the Rough Riders, 1999, and I was making bank betting on the games. And my wife at the time, she's not my wife now, she's like, let's bet more. And I'm like, you know, this doesn't feel right. I have inside information on injuries and all that. And I stopped. And I never bet because it just didn't feel right. And that was 25 years ago. Now, I don't know. I feel like we can bet. We're not affiliated with anybody, and I think that's a good thing for us. That's a good thing for us, right?
Absolutely. We can bet.
That's what I thought.
Absolutely. Which is, got me thinking about the Stanley Cup Final looking ahead, and I saw the spread was Panthers by a game and a half, which means Florida in 4, 5, or 6. Everything else is Edmonton, right? So it's got me thinking about that and these win totals. So interesting that it's 7.5 on the Riders. I guess I'll take the over on that one and the under on Calgary. But it's a big element of it, and we don't have any affiliations, so you're right. We can do what we want. We can bet. It's okay.
I like that. That's like the Cats and Bolts podcast. We have no affiliation legally with the Panthers or Lightning. Works out real good for us, but everybody associates us with them. Okay, real quick picks for the CFL for fun. We got the sports doctor coming in next. And no reasoning or anything. I just one word from you, if you don't mind. Montreal at Winnipeg tonight. Who wins?
Winnipeg.
I got Montreal. Hamilton at Calgary Friday. Who wins?
Hamilton.
I knew you would say that. I'm taking the Mighty Horsemen. Sask at Edmonton Saturday. Who you got?
Sask.
I'm going with the odds makers who have the Edmonton Elkamos. And BC at Toronto Sunday. Who do you like in the Brayley Bowl? Me too. That's the only one. Well, this is spicy, Moose. We have a little bit of consternation, as they say in our picks. All right. See you in hour 2. Okay, buddy.
Later.
John Doe writes in just before I go to the break. John Doe says, everyone is writing off the Stamps. All I have to say is you haven't been following their off-season. John in Edmonton says, have you talked about the Elks' third jersey and the Saskatchewan Roughriders deficit? $1.1 million money on? No, we haven't. But I'll tell you what, John, we will talk about that on hour 2. We got the Sports Doctor coming up live from Princess Auto Stadium in Winnipeg after this break. We are live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Hey! Hey, everybody. The RP Show continues live from the Golden Ticket Sports Center in Moose Jaw, your hub for sports, fitness, and community fun. Visit GoldenTicketSportsCenter.com. By the way, I'm just laughing at Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes in regarding our poll. What's Canada's game of the week? Leading the way is Sask at Edmonton. He goes, 31% are picking between the two worst teams in the league last year. I don't get it either. But they're pretty fired up in Winnipeg. Let's go there now. The sports doctor, I'm sure he looks like $1 million. No, he's not wearing the RP Show shirt that I sent him, but that's okay. Is that a Walby original? What are you wearing, David?
It is a Walby original, absolutely.
That's what I thought. Okay, so you're going to be wearing the RP Show shirt tonight to the game. That's all I can think on game day, Bombers and Owls tonight.
100%. But you got to rep your team on game day, and that's why I'm wearing that. But I rep my RP shirt. And I'm sorry, I haven't sent you the photo yet. But, hey, I just want to say this. You're in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. Have you bumped into Burton Cummings yet? He lives in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
No.
How about that?
You're like the 17th person to ask me that. I don't know where a guy like Burton Cummings would hang out, but pretty sure it's not the same place as I hang out or a sports facility like this. Okay. The Bombers have never beaten Montreal. 6 times in the week one. They've met 6 times in week one. They've never beat them. Do you think that streak continues tonight, David?
I do. I don't think that's going to continue. What's Cody Fajardo? What's his record against the Bombers? 2-9 or 2-7 or something like that. So
1-0 in the Grey Cup, buddy. 1-0 in the Grey Cup. Stop it.
I was just going to say that. The one off aside from that, Cody Fajardo doesn't have much success at Princess Auto Stadium, the renamed IG Field. I think that Bombers have a lot to prove. The Bombers have been very quiet this week. There's not been a lot of chest thumping. There hasn't been a lot of braggadocio. I think that this is a very, very focused team on avenging the embarrassment that happened last November in Hamilton.
Ooh. Okay, is that what you think or is that what you hear? I never even thought about that the revenge, because you know these Grey Cup rematches are a great thing, but even if you win and you lost in the Grey Cup, it doesn't satisfy, it doesn't scratch the itch. Have they been talking about that at all?
No. All it's been caught a claw back after 2 consecutive Grey Cup losses, which really stings, and that's been the narrative a little bit. When you hear Mike O'Shea speak, when you hear a lot of the players speak, it's like we're getting back there. We have the same team. We're going to do it. We have to erase what happened last year in the Grey Cup. But, this is a team that's, aside from a couple of pieces, that it's the same team that's been going to the Grey Cups for the last bunch of years. It's the excitement in town, which was squashed a little bit with the drubbing Calgary gave us in the preseason. But, I've gone to almost every game. Blue Bomber home game over the last few years and some road games. And I needed a program last week because I did not recognize hardly any of the players. And everybody sat. There was more guys I recognized looking across the field that were in street clothes than there were on the team. So it was the very, very final tryouts last week. That preseason game absolutely means nothing. But I've said this on your show many, many times. If you win both your preseason games, and yes, I'm looking at you, Saskatchewan fans, you're planning the parade, you're going to the Grey Cup. But if you lose both of them, it's like, it's just preseason. So it's kind of the weird thing about preseason. But this is a team that's super focused, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And, Montreal, that was the snowball going downhill last year. And there was almost like you just couldn't stop them. And they just took that momentum into the Grey Cup and handed it to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They played such an excellent game. You'd have no excuses. They were a much better team. And can they make this 2 in a row against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers? I don't think they can. I think your prediction for week 1 in the CFL tonight is wrong.
I'm cheering for Cody, and you know that. I will always cheer for Cody. He's my guy. I don't know if he was playing. Well, he would never play on the Devils team, but you know what I mean. I'm always going to cheer for Cody. And by the way, that's it. Number one, if anybody puts stock in preseason, we can't be friends and talk to the hand because you're not going to get it. It means nothing. The other is what I hear, the news today that this CTV is going to be airing CFL games on Saturday afternoons beginning September 7th, as well as playoff games in the Grey Cup, because of criticism. That's not even a criticism, but I hear from people, I don't know who the players are. This should help that. You know, your thoughts on that news today out of the CFL and Bell Media?
No, and you said it in the last segment with Moose. Instead of an afternoon full of Big Bang Theory reruns, why couldn't they do that? Why do we get NFL all over CTV? Super Bowl playoff games, CTV2 airs Sunday Night Football. TSN is the home of Monday Night Football, and it just boggles my mind. It's programming. Like every channel, every station, everybody knows this, and you being in the media business, you need Canadian content. And what is more Canadian content than a game that's going to originate from Winnipeg or Regina? So I guess that means starting in September, I guess that means the Banjo Bowl could be on CTV. That'd be interesting.
How about that? Yeah, well, it's something we've been pushing for years. All this proves to me is how long it takes to get affect change, because I'm sure the CFL clearly would have wanted it too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've always thought maybe there was some sort of exclusivity in the TSN deal, but you'd have to say like the same thing, like you said about the programmer there. Do you want some CanCon? Do you want some CFL games on TV? It should be yes, absolutely, 100%. We don't have to do anything. We just have to press a button, and there's the game.
Exactly. Hey, you said not a lot of headlines coming out of the game. The headlines I saw, because I'm not following it as closely as I did, was that Zach Collaros might not play. We are all across Ohio, by the way, his home state, Steubenville, Ohio. He's a Cincinnati Bearcat star. Was it ever close to him not playing because of injury for this game?
I haven't.
Or did I misread that?
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about that. I haven't heard. I think the excitement level has been, like I said before, as with Chris Strevler being the backup. I think, but I haven't heard anything. I mean, I was watching some training camp highlights and the limited snaps that he did get, but it was that Milt Stegall piece on TSN I was watching, and he was throwing strikes. So I haven't heard a thing. I haven't heard anything at all. I know he was been at the Fan Fest signing autographs and been around town a little bit, but if he's not starting, it's been a very well guarded secret, and you might have the scoop.
No. Well, some lady wrote in from California, San Diego, in fact, and she goes, "Hey, I'm playing CFL Fantasy, and Zach Collaros is listed as questionable for the game." I'm like, you might as well be speaking Mandarin, because I don't play fantasy football in any league, and that was really the only place that I'd heard it, that he was listed as questionable. So, yeah, it's Zach versus Cody, the sweet life with Zach and Cody tonight. Yeah, what?
That's the amazing thing, and you and we've talked about this in person, we've talked about this on the show before, but it's two quarterbacks that were discarded and basically run out of town from their old team, and it was just amazing last year to see them two, the success they've had, the success that Cody has. Cody Fajardo is not a guy that you can hate at all, and I know for the rest of the Canadian Football League, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are the New England Patriots. People hate them. They just hate him. Saskatchewan, they hate him. They booed him out of the building in the Grey Cup against Toronto. They hate him. They hate Mike O'Shea. They think he's Bill Belichick. And Zach Collaros could just be Tom Brady. It's amazing success, but everybody hates him. But Cody Fajardo does not have that same level of hatred anywhere that he goes. In fact, he seems like a very likable man.
Yeah. Well, I don't hate Winnipeg. I respect the hell out of them, but I'm not like everybody else either. Okay, Dave, have fun tonight. Wear the shirt. Say hey to everybody, all my Winnipeg friends, and go Bombers.
Thanks, Rod, and thanks for having me on.
You bet, pal. Thank you for all the support. The sports doctor, Dave Petrishen. More support from him than a pair of pantyhose. We'll be back with a sports update and viewer takeover right after this. We are live from the game on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
I had a lady write me on social media, longtime friend of mine, used to work with her, and she's like, yeah, my son has always wanted to go, and I'm like, oh my God, that would be the day that my parents would take me to the Stanley Cup Final and spend thousands. What? And she was like, maybe I'll go to Florida because it's the same price, and it's way nicer there than Edmonton. And I'm like, well, that's what I think. But I mean, this is out of control.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, welcome everybody to hour 2 of the RP Show. Where's my bell? Here we go. Let's go. I took my break, did a washroom visit, and we're ready to go. It's the 100,000-mile checkup. Broadcasting live from the Golden Ticket Sports Center in beautiful Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, where the wind isn't Lynch-like today. It's not going to blow you away if you're not nailed down. Let's bring the Moose in. He is from in Toronto. Not from Toronto, but he's in Toronto, where the Blue Jays are playing a matinee today against the Baltimore Orioles. And Darren, as you know, really trying to keep it positive here today on the RP Show and for the rest of our lives, because that's my thing. That is turning over a new forest in life. Yeah, here with episode number 1260. Because, here, let me just walk it back. You're always positive. Since the day I know, you're always positive. It's the CFL kickoff today. They've had a very big announcement to go along with not only Montreal at Winnipeg tonight, the sweet life of Zach and Cody. Rides again. We got our poll today as what's Canada's game of the week. And this game tonight and Saturday's Sask-Edmonton game at Commonwealth are tied for the lead. How about that? In other news, the Prairies is our biggest region for viewership, so that should not surprise anybody with the polls. Number 2, CTV announcing today, and TSN, that beginning September 7th, they're going to have a Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. CFL game on the main network, CTV. And we're over here on Game Plus, which is a competing, I guess, rival network. I don't care, and Anthem Sports has never told me what to or not say. It's okay. Let's all work together for the good of the CFL. Let's all work together. How about that? Has anybody thought of that? So Saturday afternoons, 3 p.m. Eastern, every Saturday. It's like Hockey Night in Canada, but football. And then the playoffs and the Grey Cup will be on CTV. We've been pushing for this for years. Today it finally happened. And the commissioner was on yesterday with us. Would have been nice if he dropped it here. But hey, we're not the broadcast partner. He did mention that they got the stats thing figured out. This is where I'm trying to stay positive, and trust me, we're going to swing it around to the NHL in a second, the positivity. He's like, yeah, knows how he said, we're feeling good about the stats. He's like you. He didn't want to get nailed down to say, there's that 1% chance it doesn't work. So anyways, right? I get it.
No.
You should be a commissioner. That's what you should be doing. But Eddie Steele, my guy, the second most famous number 97 in Edmonton, former Eskimo. He's now on Sports 1440. He's like, oh, it's not something to celebrate that you got the stats working. He put that on Twitter. He's like, this is baseline stuff, commish. And I'm like, can we just stay positive? So that's the one thing. I was on the radio in Calgary this morning, Fan 960, talking Stanley Cup Final, time to hunt. They wanted a Florida perspective. I was talking to my beautiful partner, Serena, about this, and she was saying, well, that guy from the Miami Herald that said Connor McDavid's overrated he's just trying to be relevant. He's trying to represent the South Florida media that they know hockey, but he failed miserably. I said, Serena, you and I are the South Florida hockey media. And so I was on Fan 960 this morning, and they said, what do you think about the physicality of this series? What do you think about the Panthers? They posted the meme. I'm finally the guy they quoted, Darren, is the point. It feels so good. Fan 960 Calgary. And the quote was, A, it'll be interesting to see Matthew Tkachuk get under the Oilers' skin because you know he's going to try. And B, Sam Bennett, another former Flame. He's grown up over the last 3 years, physically, emotionally, and mentally. The Panthers are bullies. Do you think they can run the Oilers out of the rink? Three straight teams have tried and failed.
Yeah. Going to have to catch them. Going to have to catch the Oilers, one of the faster teams. You know, and you look at Florida, they've had not an easy road either, though. You know, when you look at Barkov's job defensively, he had to shut down Kucherov in the opening round. Kucherov didn't score, right? Had to shut down Zibanejad and Panarin and Kreider in New York, and they were largely not a factor in that series. It hasn't been exactly the easiest road for the Florida Panthers, but yet they've made it look easy because of the way they've bullied teams around and played physical and controlled the puck and all the rest. Edmonton's kind of done a little bit of that stuff too. Not exactly the physical way, but they're so fast and they have the puck for so much of the game. It's going to be really interesting to see how the series is played, man, because you're right. Like, Tkachuk's played the Oilers a lot. Sam Bennett, very familiar. And this is not the Calgary Flames playing the Edmonton Oilers. This is a far, far different team.
Keeping it positive is what again, that's the mantra. Trying anyway. I'm getting to some good stuff here, and not like this hasn't all been great. It's been great. On Calgary radio this morning, they said, how are they going to stop Connor McDavid? I'm like, don't ask me. They asked that Aaron Ekblad that yesterday, the veteran defenseman of the Panthers. He's like, you can't stop him. You can't slow him down. It's that whole thing they used to talk about running backs. You can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him. It's exactly what it is with McDavid. Natasha writing in from Winnipeg. She watches every day on the Game Plus television network. And as she says, tonight's game is Canada's game of the week because it's both the season opener and the Grey Cup rematch, in my humble opinion. Says the Bomber fan. So that's fine. I still think it's a bigger deal that Bo Levi Mitchell returns to McMahon Stadium tonight. And Darren made a really good point, because that's what he does last hour. I think it's woeful that only 3% of our respondents are voting for that game in Calgary Friday night. Stamps and Ticats with Bo coming back. Darren said if this had been last year, it would have been a much bigger deal. But they missed the boat, the CFL. Am I quoting you properly, paraphrasing on that?
Yeah, you know, I feel like too much time has passed for it to be as impactful as it could have been. Can it still drum up the same emotions? I hope so. But we're not as sitting here thinking about Bo Levi, the former Calgary quarterback. We're thinking about Bo Levi, the Hamilton quarterback. Can he get healthy? The ex-Calgary thing is kind of seems like it's yesterday's news, even though this is the first time that he'll go back to McMahon.
Okay. All our rowdy friends have showed up. Clark said it. Producer Clark, the CFL fans have woken up, and our ratings are reflecting that. Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes in and says, now Darren is taking shots at Calgary. John in Edmonton says, Darren, taking shots at Calgary. 2 thumbs up. You weren't really, but let's just go with it. And Jeff, the Stamps fan, goes on to say,
great the meme. Calgary sucks. Okay, Calgary sucks. Do you want me to say it? No, I'm just kidding.
You make the memes, so you do it. You do you if you want to step in that. I'm kind of tired of it anyways, stepping in it. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says the Grey Cup rematch when no Grey Cup is on the line is overrated. Your lips to my ears, bro. 2009 Grey Cup. Was it the 13th man when we soiled it? And we came back July 1st, the Canada Day comeback and beat Montreal. Yeah, so what? Came back from 21 points down and won in overtime. It was not a comeback, or like it wasn't revenge in any. But you got to do something, and there is a lot of marketing around this. John says, is Bo back fully healed? Yeah, bro, that's why he's starting. And there hasn't been a ton of coverage around that game and so forth, but that's why they rely on us. Bomber Boy writes in from Calgary, and he says, everyone predicting the downfall of the Bombers will be unpleasantly surprised. Then he says, cold take. Cool. Now, we did a lot of Stanley Cup Final talk last hour. We can do a lot more about it here right now. Again, I said to Darren on the phone this morning, we in this industry of a sports media have an opportunity, and I really do. You do. You've moved to Toronto. You're a brand new guy out there. I've moved to Florida and have come back here to Canada for the summer. It's the best of both worlds, like Hannah, Montana. And it's personally, for me as well, it's an opportunity to change. Because as I said, I got our producer in Florida, Ben, who's texting me today. He's like, I haven't had a chance to pull that clip out from Greg Cote, the Miami Herald, because I've been producing a lot of other shows, but I'm on it. The old me, Darren, would be saying, it's only the Stanley Cup Final. It's our highest viewership of the year. But don't want to be that guy. You get to it when you get to it. How about that? See how the change is, Darren? Then nobody's upset.
Yeah.
See?
Look at that. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Ken is watching in Pennsylvania. And he writes and he says, speaking of working together, your friend Reed Johnston of the Markcast has his kickoff CFL show tonight. There you go, folks. Go check it out. The Markcast that airs out of Seattle. He is regarded as the United States' biggest CFL podcast. Something along those lines. It's 11:11 Eastern. Sorry, 11:11 Mountain, 1:11 Eastern, if you're into that. And Bomber Boys pointed that out, too. So with regards to staying positive, it's, a lot of people are never going to get this, and the people that know already know, so I don't really need to say it. But John in Edmonton asked last hour if we would address two things. Number one, the Edmonton Elks third jerseys, which, to be honest, I just glanced at them. They don't look a whole lot different than their normal forest green jerseys. You just introduced a new jersey 2 years ago. Can we stick with that? Number one. Number two, is this an Elks fan logo, by the way? Because if it's not, it should be. That should be an Elks thing. Don't you think? Like Bullwinkle?
They do in the crowd? Like players do it? Or like the fans do it?
Yeah, which one was the Moose? Rocky or Bullwinkle, do you know?
I think it was Bullwinkle.
I don't even know. I'm just saying you just got a new jersey. What are you introducing a third for? That's my take on that. People are writing in with their standings, predictions, picks for week one. That's all cool. We did our pick. We did that all. We've done it all. We're way ahead of you. But the guy, John in Edmonton, asked about the $1.1 million loss for the Saskatchewan Roughriders announced yesterday. And I'll say this. I said it the other day. The franchise is dysfunctional. It got a lot of people upset. Serena actually said she had to stop reading the comments from the people that were responding on Facebook because it was upsetting her what they were saying about me. And then the next day it comes out that they've lost $1.1 million. And people are saying all they need to do is win. And the money will come back. And I'm going, if it was that easy, they'd have done it by now. Okay? So by the time this is all done, it's going to get worse. That's dysfunction. But if that upsets people or triggers you and we can't be friends, then we never really were friends. Okay? So my take on the money, the $1.1 million loss is, what did you think was going to happen? The track record of errors is long and big errors, but nobody wants to acknowledge it. They want to just cover it like a turd in the sandbox, and that's fine. You do you. But it's bad. So, John says, too, he says, $1.3 million loss in Saskatchewan's nothing compared to what Edmonton has, like a $4.3 million loss. Number one, we're not accountants. Number two, I don't trust the numbers from anybody, sorry, in sports. I would like to believe that the NHL, that $6.2 billion profit they announced from last season is legit, and it kind of looks like it is. Like, listen, Darren, from the outside, just to swing this around, on the eve of the Stanley Cup Final, it really does look like the National Hockey League has got it going on. Deal or no deal?
Deal. Yeah, they absolutely do. Great expansion into the U.S. Now, I've seen some of the TV numbers of the conference finals, and the Edmonton-Dallas series was actually pretty low ratings in Canada from what they're used to getting. But in the U.S., the ratings are really great. They've had some of their best playoffs ever on TV. And I think what TNT has done up to this point, and ESPN, who I believe has the Cup Final now, it's been awesome. You've got new partners. You've got more A-level stars and personalities being part of the game than ever. Henrik Lundqvist, Mark Messier, Wayne Gretzky, Paul Bissonnette. It's such a great group. I think the NHL, is in a fantastic spot going into the Cup Final.
And it's given me a wonderful perspective to have been in Florida and have the legal paperwork to be there permanently if I want. It's nice. I can go back and forth as much as I want. It's great. To sit and watch what they're doing and learn what the U.S. hockey fan's all about. Everybody thinks, they won't watch Winnipeg in the Stanley Cup. The NHL doesn't want it. Or the Oilers, like Connor McDavid, the league's biggest star, plays for the Edmonton Oilers. They're in the Stanley Cup Final. The NHL loves this. You got to get over the anti-Canadian bias that people seem to think that there is. Even Serena B believes there's an anti-Canadian bias by the NHL. It's one of the biggest things we argue about. But we don't lose sleep over it. But the Winnipeg, who did they play in round one? Sorry, I look forward, Colorado. Not back. Colorado. That game, but didn't end up 7-6. Winnipeg. That was like the highest watched cable playoff game in cable history in the United States. And it featured the Winnipeg Jets. And I don't get it because 99% of U.S. hockey fans couldn't name one Jet. So it's not about the market per se. It's just they've got the vibe. They've got it going on, which, by the way, we do got a break here. But I'll say this about the news today that the CFL will be airing its games on CTV. Or just to flip that around, CTV will be airing CFL games beginning Saturday, 3 p.m. every Saturday in the fall, plus playoffs. That is something we've wanted for years. This is kind of the things that the NHL's been doing. So it's a major step in the right direction. So when I say the NHL's got it going on, they have for a while. Everybody's now just catching on. And the CFL is putting those steps in place too. CFL ain't going to die. Could it be better? Yeah. But at least they're going in the right direction. We'll be back with more in a second. It is a Thursday, episode number 1260. Get your comments in now. And Jason Gregor's on the way from Sports 1442. We're live on the Game Plus TV network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience in the seats or streaming TV. House.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope.
Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven. And I'm Connor Bedard. We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors. There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life. Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
All right, welcome back, everybody, on a Thursday, very big day, CFL kickoff day. We're a couple of sleeps away from the Stanley Cup Final getting rolling. Game 1 in Sunrise on Saturday. Please bring in the Moose. By the way, CEBL action. This one's on me. It's on me. I have not read it yet. Hey, Moose, as you know, the Saskatchewan Rattlers pro basketball team plays at a SaskTel Center, offering the best entertainment for all of Saskatchewan sports fans. Their season has started with leadership from their NBA experienced head coach, Larry Abney. They plan on being in the championship weekend this August. Get your tickets now. Catch them at home by visiting Ticketmaster.ca or head on down to the Rattlers front office in downtown Saskatoon. That 3.5-minute break, my mind darts to 973 different places. So I'm trying to remember where we were, and I'm sure yours is the same. But I was talking about the Cats and Bolts podcast. I got a clip. Benny Boy, our producer, sent me the clips. And some of the clips from this week's show. Bill Lindsay was on there, the Panthers. Great. Face of the franchise and color commentator on radio. And Serena hosted. They were talking about Game 1 in Sunrise. I want your take on this. Serena says it's great for the Oilers to be going on the road and not be in Edmonton because it's chaos. I think we've all seen the clip by now of Connor McDavid being accosted by Oiler fans trying to put beer in the back of his SUV. And where Bill, you got to see this clip. Go follow Cats and Bolts on Instagram. You'll see it for yourself. But Bill's like, well, that's fine. This is a must-see episode because you can tell Serena really wants the Oilers to win and Bill really wants the Panthers to win. And you can feel the energy. It's not matching. How do you feel about Game 1 from an Oilers perspective? That they would probably not want to be at home for Games 1 and 2.
Great to be on the road. You know, what a better way to come together as a team and be a part of this. And when you got all the Stanley Cup distractions or that in the air, you're not leaving players on their own to deal with it. You know, when you're at home, not that, you know, necessarily at this stage, the players are expected to have access to tickets and all the rest. But like, you're at home, it's like, hey, are you excited? You got family members, you've got other people phoning all over you. You know, you got tickets for a lot of players. Or some players, you've got kids to deal with and family to deal with. and all the rest, your routines, all that. When you go on the road for game one, you travel as a team. You're together as a team. No distractions in that hotel room, right? Nobody else is there. Yeah, you take some phone calls, but you don't got to worry about tickets. You don't got to worry about getting your family to the game. You don't got to worry about any of those distractions. You can just go and just worry about hockey and be there as a team. I like it.
I had an analyst on the Rough Riders television show that I did, Marshall Hamilton, who was very, very, very wise man. 35 years as the HR VP, Human Resources for Mosaic Potash. And he's like, we can't look at this from our age. We have to look at it from the perspective of the young men, the players in their 20s largely, and 30s. It is fun to go out on the road. Like, I don't want to travel anymore. I got this deal here calling baseball. I don't do road games. I was saying to the Millers, if I had to do road games, I wouldn't do this job. I don't want to travel. But I'm not playing. You know what I mean? If I was the players, you can see why. And also, with the world changing, the older I get, I realize all these sayings that actually mean something. Better safe than sorry. He who laughs last laughs best. And evolve or die. Home ice, Alan May said this on this show the other day. It doesn't mean that much anymore. There's way more space in between games, i.e., time to recover and time for the coaches to tinker with strategy, right? So it's not about staying in a hotel or home. Shoot, the Bruins were staying in a hotel at home, because it's better than being in your house. Right? That's what he thought was going to give them the edge. By the way, they can't figure out how to win either way. But I digress. Home and away, and it's not just hockey. You are way more into, you still play fantasy football, right?
That's right.
Yeah, like if you're picking, we can get our guy, what's our guy, Clark, from Vegas, the odds maker? Johnny
Hello.
something. Johnny Avello. He says home and road doesn't mean anything anymore. When you're laying down odds and point spreads for a game, has the sports fan base caught up to that? I don't know.
Good question. Yeah, it doesn't mean what it maybe used to mean before. Things have changed a little bit. I think it's tough because I just said Edmonton's probably happy to go on the road, but I still think you'd rather play at home in front of your fans. But you have that extra, challenge, and that is dealing with the distractions. And if you can deal with the distractions and you have players who are bought in and don't, it's human nature to get distracted by things when you're at home. And that's one of the big challenges of the whole working from home situation we're in, employees managing those distractions.
Oh.
If you can handle that, yeah, being at home is the best. You want to be in front of your fans, gives you an extra boost and all the rest. But it's not quite the same as it used to be, where travel was horrible and the fans were nasty and the players just, hated everything about going on the road. Now the locker rooms are great. The road amenities are still good. Everything's pretty good on the road.
Talk to those old timers. And they're not, well, to me, they're not old timers. To you and younger people, they probably are. But Bernie Nichols, Randy Moeller, Jamie McCowan, their stories of flying commercials, standing in lines at the airport. You're flying beside some 80-year-old grandma. Meanwhile, your pants are at your knees with an ice bag on your nuts. You're just like, that's not happening anymore. Okay? And people don't think about that, but trust me, the players do, and the odds makers should. Scott White has written in from Toronto with regards to, I guess the Utah hockey teams come out with its final 6 names. One of those is the Blizzard. Another is the Mammoth. I looked it up. I saw it. It's Utah Hockey Club is another. The Yeti. Mammoth, Blizzard. HC. The Outlaws. Yeti. And there was another one.
Venom and Blizzard. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, nice. Between the two of us, we got it. Scott in Toronto says the lacrosse team in Colorado is called the Mammoth. The Blizzard reminds me of the old Toronto Blizzard. That was a soccer team, right? He says, I hope they go with Yeti. I hope they go with Yeti too, but who knows? With regards to the CFL putting games, the games were on Saturday anyways, but they're now going to televise them on CTV. The Velvet Frog writes in and goes, That's his name, the Velvet Frog. He says, I can't understand how CTV wants to air CFL games in the fall when the NFL is on. Also, period, it would suit them better to have games aired on CTV when the NFL's not playing. Velvet Frog. The NFL plays on Sundays, the CFL plays on Saturdays. Boom, end of story. Are we done? It's not a competition at all. And now CTV has, well, as John in Edmonton says, both the CFL and NFL on CTV. It's a great thing. It's a great thing. John Ohm writes in and says, Rod, did you say ice bag on your nuts? Yes, I did. Actually, Jamie McCowan did. I just quoted him. But here's the thing. To scale, it's no different. Back when I was only doing, when I say only, doing hockey before I got into the CFL, our team's games got bumped from the AM station, 620 AM. Actually, at that time, I think it was 980, because the football games took precedence. So we weren't on the air at all. This was like pre-internet, believe it. A land before time, Darren, a different time. So I went into our station manager's office, and I'm pounding my fist on the table. I'm like, you got to put our games on the FM, on the Wolf FM. He goes, why would I do that? Why should we do that? I said, because otherwise we're not airing at all. So put us on the FM. We got to air somewhere. And he was like, no, the Wolf listeners want to listen to rock music. It's a rock station, so we're not putting you on there. Okay. And then I lost the argument. But at the very least, you got to go in and pound your fist on the stand on the table, as they say in the sports. Just plead your case. Whether you win or not, you got to try. And I feel like that was the thing. I really do for the last few years on the CTV. The guy running the Saturday afternoon programming really liked Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, and that's why they showed reruns 8 in a row on Saturday afternoons. That's what I don't know. What do you think went into this? Because a lot of people are writing in saying, why do you think they're doing this now? Does that have to do with ad revenue? Well, probably, because it always has to do with money. What do you think led to them finally coming up with this today?
It all has to do with money, and it has to do with, I believe, an opportunity to bring the product to a wider audience and hopefully drive more ratings. As you see television shows now start to be consumed more and more and more and more on demand on OTT products and platforms like Amazon and Netflix, you start to see sports be what's consumed live. And so they'll try that. I think for all the years, though, I think they don't make these decisions just willy-nilly. And you're probably, saying that he probably was a fan of Big Bang Theory. Sure, is probably part of it. But also, I bet you they've done some studies, or at the very least, have some sort of focus group that tells them the number of viewers they're going to get for a Big Bang Theory or a sitcom or CTV News would have been higher than CFL football. So that's, their main audience on that network would have been there. And they also want to drive subscriptions to TSN because the CFL fan base is dedicated and they'll go where the product is, as opposed to just watching what's on. They're going to seek out the CFL. So if that means subscribing to TSN, you're going to boost subscriptions, which is also a good thing for their business.
Robert in Las Vegas tunes in. He says, CTV broadcasting CFL games on Saturday in the fall is a huge leap forward for the league. As you stated, Rod, long overdue. This is something I was thinking about earlier with the people writing in with results to the poll. What's Canada's game of the week? And they can't see outside their own tunnel. And trust me, I deal with it every day. And I used to be like that. When people said, Rod, you're looking through a keyhole. What do you mean? So I worked on not being that and seeing other people's perspectives. It's a hell of a way to be. But I think of it this way. If, let's just say, 1 million people watch an average CFL game a week, like Friday Night Football has 1 million viewers. There's 36 million people in the country. That tells me 35 million people aren't watching it. So what the hell are they watching? See what I'm saying? To those 1 million people, it's the number one thing in their life. What about the others? Now, I'm in the 1 million, so trust me, I'm one of you. But there are other things on. There are other things to do, right? And nobody can see that. It's wild. Nelson says, I think the CFL has learned a lot from the CBS CFL Plus approach. Genius Sports has helped the league reevaluate how it looks at a lot of things from TV agreements to sponsorships and marketing. Yeah, Genius Sports has really done a lot. Most, you have a great afternoon.
You too.
We're going to Edmonton next with Jason Gregor, our great friend from Sports 1440 Edmonton, for an Oilers perspective of this Stanley Cup Final. We are live on the Game Plus television network, which airs all across Alberta and BC on TELUS Channel 924 and Shaw Rogers Channel 230. We're also on the radio in Atlanta, Atlanta's NHL shows right here on 99.1 FM WQEE. We're also streaming Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven. And I'm Connor Bedard. We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors. There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life. Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Canada's daytime sports talk show is on the air and into overtime for our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes. Oh, you know, the kids are driving you nuts, the little ankle biters. They're watching hockey every night, and then they want to go bash their shins in the kitchen. Take them down to Overtime Hockey Lanes and let them burn off the aggression and energy there. 28th Street Northeast in Calgary, where skill and fun collide. Proud partners of the RP Show, sponsors of Overtime OT Hockey Lanes. I call it an amusement park for hockey fans. Football, big day in football. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Montreal Alouettes kick off the CFL season tonight with a Grey Cup rematch. The host Bombers are looking to avenge their 28-24 last-minute loss in last year's title game. Oh, it's going to be great. TSN's got it. I think it's a 6:30 hour time kickoff, Mountain, 8:30 Eastern. Meanwhile, bigger news. I'm sorry, Bombers and Alouettes, but bigger news here. The CFL is coming to CTV this fall with exclusive 3 p.m. Eastern Saturday games beginning September 7th. Plus, TSN and CTV combining to deliver afternoon playoff games and the 111th Grey Cup. So there's a lot of exciting things going on with the CFL here as they kick off the season this week. Hey, from the Canadian Elite Basketball League. How about this? Sean Miller-Moore. I believe he's the guy they call Muggsy. I only know him by his nickname, Muggsy. He's my guy from the Calgary Surge. Sean Miller-Moore led the way with 27 points, including the game winner as the Surge topped the Saskatchewan Rattlers 102-85 at Wynn Sport Event Center Wednesday night in Calgary for their first win of the season. They started 0-3 after going all the way to the league final last year and losing to Scarborough. Elsewhere last night, Winnipeg beat Brampton 92-90, and Ottawa got past Montreal 97-86. Sports updates for EMJ Marketing. Transform your audience with powerful presentations from EMJ Marketing's elite speakers like me and Jim Barker. Stu Grimson as well, to name a few. Check out their website for more information, emjmarketing.com. Also brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas now, the movie If. If comes from writer and director John Krasinski. If is about a girl who discovers that she can see everyone's imaginary friends and what she does with that superpower as she embarks on a magical adventure to reconnect forgotten ifs with their kids. If stars Ryan Reynolds, John Krasinski, Kaylee Fleming, Fiona Shaw, and the voices of Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Louis Gossett Jr., and Steve Carell. And we're also brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. So now we're down to 4 minutes left on the clock. 902-518-3033 is the number to reach me here at the Golden Ticket Sports Center. Oh, here we go. Jason in Winnipeg writes in and says, Bombers win 24-17 tonight. Go Blue. We had the sports doctor with us last hour from the Winnipeg side to preview the game. Brian in Hudson's Bay writes in and says, Penny. He says, I like Penny on the Big Bang Theory. It's a little like Betty and Veronica. Kaylee Cuoco, Blossom, potato. Western Canadian Baseball League play tonight. Some of the Miller Express are here working out today, getting ready for their road game tonight. They're at Saskatoon. They lost last night to the Berries at home here. Swift Currents at Medicine Hat. Brooks is at Lethbridge. Regina is at Edmonton. Sylvan Lake visits Fort McMurray. Did I mention that in the CEBL tonight, the Winnipeg Sea Bears are at Niagara? And that one's on Game Plus, right, guys? I haven't heard from you guys in the Game Plus control room for a while. As a matter of fact, I think somebody told me we were bumped for hour 2. Does that sound right, Clark? Is that something that... Yeah, that's what somebody told me. Somebody wrote in here and said that we got bumped. We're going. We're rocking. You know what? It was that guy in Cochrane. Where is he? Jeff, you got to understand something, Jeff. Jeff in Yorkton writes in and says, Rod, next time you have a rash on, ask him about that TV deal and why it took so long to happen. He's not going to talk about that, bro. He works at Sportsnet. He's not, even if he did know, which my guess is he probably doesn't, he was never going to talk about TSN and CTV. Come on, you know this. David, you're a smart guy. David in Winnipeg writes in, he says, David number 1, he says, very windy and raining now. Tonight's CFL game is going to be Brady O'Bully ball, methinks. Go Bombers. Well, you're going no matter what. It reminds me of the weather we had here last night for the Millers game. But you know what? We had a good crowd for that. Suck it up and go. That's what you do as a Canadian, right? Jeff the Stamps fan says it's Football Friday and Stampeder game day tomorrow. We'll get far more into the Bo Levi return to McMahon. I know you're all going to get much more fired up for a Football Friday. Jim Barker will be joining us. Davis Sanchez, both from the CFL on TSN. Allie in Texas, she says, great show as always, RP and crew. Have a terrific afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Allie. Glad that your power's back on. See, it's not just here that's affected. Scott in Toronto regarding Connor McDavid. He said, I was surprised to see him loading his own beer into the truck. Listen, they sit on the pot just like you. They put their pants on one leg at a time. See you tomorrow, noon Eastern.
Who has more fun than us?